Well, I just came the closest that I've ever come to dying a few minutes ago. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that's thunder. It's storming pretty good here. I mean, it's not really raining. You guys also have to forgive me. My dog, she's a sissy when it comes to bad weather. So she's stuck at my butt. Timber, come over here. Come over here. No. There she is. She is a pansy when it comes to bad weather, which is okay. Let's get you over there. All right. Anyway, so closest I've ever come to dying a few minutes ago. So I went outside. We live in the country. I'm surrounded by woods, and I went out to the woods to throw some cans away. We recycle, so we have garbage cans set up with aluminum cans, and so I went out there to throw some away, and literally 5 feet from me, I saw where it struck the ground, the works. Okay, this massive lightning bolt hit the ground 5 feet in front of me, close enough to where I could hear the popping and the buzzing of the electricity coming off of it. That's the closest I've ever been to a lightning bolt or a lightning strike. And I panicked like a little girl. Turned around and ran and screamed and hollered and threw a few expletives. My wife came outside to see what was going on and make sure I was still alive because she knew I was out there, and she heard it, and man, that was something else. So I'm going to talk some NASCAR today. I want to touch on what we talked about yesterday with the whole Danielle Trotta, Larry Mack, and Mark Martin situation. Not too much. Kind of basically said everything I wanted to say yesterday, but there's something that happened after I made my video I want to get into. So if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, anything automotive, or anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, as I've told you guys a million times. And I'll keep repeating it. I know it's annoying, but just bear with me. We're in a copyright strike right now for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. It's going to fall off, but until that time, our reach is extremely limited. So if you would, tell people about this channel, spread the word, shout it from the rooftops. Any help would be greatly appreciated. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, anything like that, racing memorabilia, auto parts, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. We have a massive sale going on right now. If you see something you're interested in, just shoot me an offer, and we'll go from there. Without further ado, let's get into it. So NASCAR released a promotional video today, I believe it was, about their new event scheduled for next year to take place in San Diego. And it's a pretty cool clip. I mean, it's got a lot of NASCAR drivers in it and military. They're going to be running the race on a military base, Coronado, I believe is what it's called, which is cool. I'm totally fine with that. Anytime they show the military love, I'm all in on that. So I've got no problem with that. The clip itself, I'll put the link in the description so you can see it. It's whatever. It's just a promotional clip. The acting is awful. Very, very wooden, I guess is the best way to describe it. But it's whatever. What I find interesting is the timing of all this. Okay, so it's no secret what happened yesterday. The big firestorm that erupted online over Larry McReynolds' comments and Danielle Trotta's comments on their SiriusXM radio show, which, by the way, how many people listen to that show? Like 15 maybe, and they're all NASCAR journalists. I don't know anyone who actually listens to that, but the timing is interesting because of everything that happened yesterday. It seems like NASCAR is trying to divert everyone's attention away, because what ended up happening, the fallout of those comments, was not even so much about Mark Martin per se, although that was part of the issue. I think the greater issue is the fact that someone like Larry McReynolds, who's got, decades worth of experience being involved with the sport, being a team member, a crew chief, and then now working in media, for someone like that to give a full-throated endorsement of the broken playoff system, I think that was like the major issue that came out of yesterday. And so a large portion of the comments online were regarding the playoff system. And now NASCAR comes out with this promotional video, and Ben Kennedy put stuff out about the San Diego race next year. I mean, it could have been pre-planned already. It just seems very convenient that they would drop all that stuff the day after, to try to, like, hey, guys, rather than focusing on our broken point system, look over here. Look at this cool track that we're going to next year. Like, come on. And it's just a typical thing for NASCAR to try to divert our attention from other things. Everyone's been clamoring for the Gen 7 to be fixed, something to be done with that race car. And NASCAR just says, nah, we're going to go to San Diego, though. How cool is that? Oh, you want the Gen 7 fixed? Yeah, what if we go to San Diego, though? It's such a stupid tactic. I cannot stand when people do it, and it's annoying. And it's no different than after I published my video yesterday, and I made some comments about it. Larry Mack jumps online and proceeds to blame the fans for misunderstanding what he was saying in that radio clip and who he was talking to or talking about. So it's our fault that you said what you said? No one's misunderstanding anything. Now, if you were talking about someone other than Mark Martin, then why did Danielle Trotta, after the radio show was over, jump on X and send a tweet, whatever you call it? I'm sorry, by the way, I'm always going to call X Twitter. I'm sorry, I can't get on the X bandwagon. It's Twitter. It will always be Twitter in my mind. Okay, so now that we're past that, she jumps online and she sends Mark a tweet talking about how great and wonderful the playoffs. I'm sorry, Mark, but we need the playoffs. Okay, so if they weren't talking about Mark, then why would she send that? That would be the most random tweet of all time. Now, obviously, they were talking about Mark. You try to walk it back all you want. Okay, that's what was going on. I'm sorry, it just was. And, there's no excuse for it at all. But one good positive thing that came out of it is it got the conversation back going again about how broken the playoffs are. Brett Griffin, spotter, he posted about it a little bit last night too, and he was saying that NBC was responsible for the final race, the one championship race at the end of the season that decides champion. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it at all, and that's another problem that NASCAR has found themselves in, which is they have become beholden to what the TV companies want, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they've allowed themselves to be in that position to start with. But I mean, they don't care, because as long as they make money, they don't give a rip. Which also plays into the fact that the current NASCAR leadership is a joke. A joke. Like I said yesterday, the France family, the Kennedy family, they shouldn't have ownership at this point. They've done nothing in the past 20 years to move the sport forward. I mean, what have they done? Name one thing that has moved the sport forward over the past 20 years in any meaningful way. I can't think of anything. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, there's just nothing that jumps out to me that I sit back and I go, you know what? Yeah, that was good for the future. That's going to help grow the sport. I can't think of anything, because you look at the stands now in comparison to 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. It's a night and day difference. A lot of people were posting about this yesterday, showing photos, particularly of Dover, since it was last weekend, of Dover from 2025 and Dover from 2004. Dover 2005. The contrast is stark. I mean, there's really no excuse, honestly. And people try to use this excuse that motorsports in general has fallen off as far as people watching like they used to. so on and so forth. They say that about all major sports, that people are just not tuning in like they used to. Okay, well, I look at that and I say, well, tell that to the NFL. You know, maybe their numbers aren't as good as they once were, but they're still pretty dang good. You know, it has nothing to do with people not being interested. The reason people aren't interested anymore is because of how horrible the product is. That's it. You know, Formula One's kind of taken off in popularity in the United States. And why? Why is that? Why has it progressively gotten more popular? Is it because they have stages? Is it because they have restart after restart? Is it because they have crash after crash after crash? No. No, it's just entertaining to watch. It's good racing. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's good racing. It just is. I'm no diehard Formula One fan by any stretch of the imagination, but it is good racing. So my point being is that we know who they were talking about yesterday, 100%. And also, don't take the bait from NASCAR to divert the conversation to something else. You know, the conversation needs to keep happening. The only way things change is if people are vocal. And I had a guy tell me yesterday, he's like, well, there's no sense in crying about everything, and what's that going to do? Well, I mean, I don't know. According to NASCAR, the reason they changed the point system to start with was because everyone was complaining about Matt winning one race in 2003 and winning the championship, when Ryan Newman won 8 and finished like 8th in points. So that was the reason why the championship was changed to a playoff format in the first place. And yes, the 2004 championship format was a playoff format. So if they changed it then because everyone was complaining, then why wouldn't they change it in the future because everyone's complaining? Walk me through that logic. But I tell you how everything will stay exactly the same and nothing will ever change is if you keep your mouth shut and don't say anything and just go along with it. It's not whining. It's not crying. It's just a fact of life. If you have a problem with something that is produced for public consumption, then the only way to get change, the only way to enact change, is to voice your displeasure. Okay? And in my personal opinion, Danielle Trotta should be fired. I mean, she should just be fired. Who is she anyways? She's just a pretty mouthpiece for NASCAR. That's all she is. She's not special. She could easily be replaced by someone else and you would never know the difference, other than if it's someone that's not as pretty as she is. Outside of that, on merits, she could easily be replaced by someone else and you would never notice. Okay, for her to get on air yesterday and say the stupid crap that she said, and then to double down online after that, you know, as just a commentator, yeah, she should be gone. Gone, period. And go find Krista Voda and bring her back. Or someone else. If you need to have a woman, there's plenty out there who would never do something that stupid. Sorry, I hate to tell you. Even if they were talking about Denny Hamlin, which they weren't. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. And I'll, as the kids say, I will die on that hill. And honestly, just frankly, I'm sick and tired of all these commentators, these analysts, these hosts, whatever you want to call them, constantly kissing NASCAR's ass. I'm so sick of it. You'd have to be blind and stupid to not see what the majority of the fans have been asking for, because it's a pretty regular topic online. And these people like to pretend like, well, Twitter's not real life, you know, X is not real life. It's just, I don't know what they think that it is. But no, yeah, it's real life because those are real people who are voicing their displeasure. So it's real life. Just because it's social media doesn't mean it's not real life. I can't remember who I heard make that argument, but it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. want to tell the story real quick. So back when I worked, and it came to me earlier because I saw a picture of Kyle Petty's car from 2006 when he was sponsored by Wells Fargo. But when I worked for Rick Hendrick, I met a guy who he was a higher up in marketing for Wells Fargo back in 2005, 2006. So he was there when they worked out the deal with Petty Enterprises to sponsor the 45 for Kyle. And then he was there during the tenure of their sponsorship and their partnership with one another. And he had, when I met him, he wasn't working for Wells Fargo anymore. I can't remember if he was working for Ally, if he was working for, he was working for a lender, but I can't remember which one. I believe it was Ally. But anyways, it doesn't matter. He was telling me a story about when they worked out that deal. And it was like they went in 2006 and Kyle wasn't running good because Petty Enterprises as a whole wasn't running good at that point. So like, I don't know what they were expecting, but it just goes to show how out of touch these corporations actually are with basically everything. Wells Fargo, and they had a lot of controversies later on, a few years after that as a company, but he was telling me that the higher-ups were trying to put pressure on them to try to figure out a way to get out of the deal and this and that and yada, yada, yada. But if you had paid attention to anything going on with Petty Enterprises before you signed up, Petty Enterprises was not running good in 2005. They had Jeff Green and they had Kyle Petty. And this is no dig at Petty Enterprises because you will not find a bigger Petty Enterprises fan out there than me. Huge fan. Love them. Love that team. Miss that team. They were awesome. I love Kyle. No dig whatsoever. But it's no secret that they weren't a top shelf team. They just weren't. They weren't a powerhouse. They weren't winning races. And let's see, the last win that they had was in 1999. Okay, so 2005, 2006, they weren't running good in 2005, going into 2006. So what did Wells Fargo expect? Did they legitimately expect for Kyle Petty to be running for race wins every weekend? Like, really? What would make you think that that's going to be the case? It's just nonsense. And then I don't really remember how that deal panned out. They weren't on the car full time. I don't remember if it was supposed to be a full-time deal or not. But I will say this. The car looked fantastic. Even when they switched over to the COT, which is one of the ugliest race cars ever built, and Dodge was running the Avenger to start with before they switched over to the Charger. Even then, the car looked good. And if you'll remember, I think it was I think it was 07, when they were at Dover and Denny Hamlin ran into Kyle. Kyle was way off the pace, going slow, and got run into and spun out. And that started the back and forth feud between Denny and Kyle. And there's pretty good footage. I'll put it in the description so you can see it. Kyle comes over to Denny. Denny's sitting in the garage, and he slams his visor down. And then Denny gets out of the car like he's going to do something, and they get separated. And then they ended up having a dust-up again later on. I can't remember exactly what happened, but Denny had gotten online and said something about Kyle. And Kyle was like, I'm not going to have a back and forth online if you want to talk to me. Come talk to me, It's the Kyle Petty of old. I love that Kyle Petty. He's similar to how a lot of guys are now that they're commentators or they work for NASCAR. They're analysts, whatever you want to call them. Never a crossword about NASCAR, I guess is the best way to put it. It's a shame. Still love the dude. Still awesome. But that is what it is now. In order to work for NASCAR, you have to toe the company line, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting story. And I miss Petty Enterprises. God, that team was awesome. Yeah, they weren't very good, but man, they were awesome. And then that 44 car in 2001 and 2002, in my opinion, is one of the best looking race cars of all time. I know it didn't run good other than with Nadu and with Biffle in like 2 or 3 races. But nevertheless, man, that Georgia Pacific livery on the 44, yes, it looked good on Kyle's car in 04 and 05. You know, when they got rid of the 44 and they only ran the 2 cars. But that 44 car, just something about it, man. Ever since I was a kid, that car has just stood out to me. I don't really know why. And they ran a special livery in Texas, 2001. Buckshot did. That was the I think 4 generations of the Petty family, and it was basically just more blue, less white. Good times, man. And that team had so much potential. You know, they showed on several occasions. I've talked about this before. I'm sure everyone who watches this channel is tired of hearing me yap about it, but they had so much potential in 2002. They showed speed with basically everyone who drove the car other than Christian Fittipaldi. Which Christian, honestly, at Phoenix, you know, for someone who had basically no experience in stock cars, qualified for the race and was running, you know, I think in the 20s or something before he got wrecked. That's not bad, you know. For back then, that's not bad. I mean, I don't think it's bad. Of course, I'm biased too, but now what he did in 2003 was pretty bad when he wrecked basically in every race that he was in and ran like crap in every one of them. But anyways, I'll go down that rabbit hole again. So anyways, if you enjoy listening to me talk about motorsports, cars, or anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share this video, tell your friends, the works. If you're interested in diecast, t-shirts, hats, anything and everything, really. Not even automotive related. We have women's clothing, we have home decor. Like I said yesterday, there's a goose sitting right over there. It's a cookie jar. So stuff like that. Lamps, lamp shades. We even sold a bra the other day. My wife sold it. I don't technically sell the bra, like stuff like that she does, but I'm just saying, if there's, you know, if you're interested in that kind of thing, we've got you. Okay, we've got what you need. So if you see something you're interested in, shoot me an offer and we'll go from there. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, we'll see you. God bless and have a good one. Peace.